to season 2 of the ENT Review podcast. We are so excited to be back with one of our favorite longtime Zoran friends here, Todd Blum. Partners. Okay.
We go back a long way.
Yes,
Unit
a long
36.
36, yes.
When was Unit 36 old?
2005.
Wow.
Yes.
That's a long
Yes,
time
I was
ago.
still in high school. I was working as a part-time job.
I was in high school too.
Joke always lands. It lands every time, every time. And also we have Rami Al-Zubi, our regional sales director.
Happy to be back.
No, national sales director, Laura. I get it right? National sales, Rami Al-Zubi, national sales director, reporting live. Okay, we are here today to have a lot of very interesting conversations. And now, what is the current name? ENT of Florida.
ENT and Allergy Associates of Florida.
ENT and Allergy Associates of Florida. Expanding all throughout Florida.
All throughout Florida. We are the second largest single specialty ENT group in the country.
Wow.
We have 92 physicians covering the entire state of Florida, and we are continually growing.
Wow. That's a big achievement. It's a big achievement. Back in 2005, how many doctors you had?
99 when I started, we were 7. In 2004, we were 10. In 2006, we were 20. And now we are 92.
Wow.
It's an awesome experience, great group of physicians, great group of staff, great big family.
Can you tell us a little bit more about how that growth and progression happened? We don't see many practices. You mentioned you're the second largest in the country. How did that kind of come about? Did you know you wanted to grow like that? Or is it just kind of out of necessity?
Rami, that is a great question, as usual.
Thank you.
So when I joined the practice, we had 7 physicians. We were actually owned at that time by a private equity entity.
Okay.
That was a very challenging time, really rough experience. So we changed our relationships as we terminated the private equity company in 2004. And over the next couple of years, from 04 to 06, we laid the foundation for how we were going to grow. We expected to be able to grow with the help of our private equity partner, but for a variety of reasons, it didn't work. So in 2005, we met a group of physicians in Palm Beach County, Florida, that were forming, and they got together, they signed legal documents, but they were unable to operationalize their entity. So having worked with several of their physicians and their healthcare attorney, we got a call, and we worked together and rolled them into the practice. We merged those physicians in, so overnight we went from 10 to 20. And since then, through the success our practice and our physicians have enjoyed, we've been constantly growing every year. We were very fortunate to add 30 wonderful partners in Tampa Bay last year. So that took us to about 90, and we keep growing.
Did you find that with the PE back in the day, they didn't understand the needs of the ENT and you couldn't grow accordingly? Is that, or you wanted to be masters of your own destiny? Like what? Maybe without going into too much level of detail, what was the biggest issue?
I think what you just referred to is part, but I believe the biggest thing was the value proposition. It's challenging. In our model, the physicians were not employed by the private equity firm or by a new company. They had signed a management services agreement with the entity. So. The best thing, obviously, was the management company brought me to the group of physicians in Boca Raton. So the biggest benefit was they provided me a great opportunity. The doctors were thrilled, and life, has been great ever since. But after the doctors sold their practices. They got, fairly decent amount of money. But at the end of the day, it wasn't just trading dollars. It was they received money, and the private equity firm was going to help us grow. And what ended up happening was we had monthly fees every month, we paid, but there was no growth. They weren't able to help us expand. Other physicians in the marketplace were not interested in having a group of investors, take a certain percent of the money every month. There was no value proposition.
Right. They're just on the treadmill and not getting any of the growth value and reinvestment.
And it's hard to be frank, because when you look at these entities, they're not. So the way to grow and the way to succeed running a practice is to get market share in one small area or one larger area, but control your territory. When you have practices in multi-states, a few here, a few there, it's not really the optimal strategy to go to a managed care payer and say, hey, we want better rates because we have 50 doctors. But when you tell them we have 5 doctors in 10 different states, you're not able to generate the market share needed to get increased reimbursements. So it didn't really work out well, but we left and we've been on a rapid growth pace ever since.
Now, we did a podcast on VC and PE money that's
Zing!
been... do you think that there is any role for them in the ENT kind of community? Do you see any way that they can thrive and help practices grow? Maybe it is on a smaller scale than what they want.
I think there's some types of physicians that would benefit. If you have a group of physicians that are older and looking for a retirement strategy, there's not really any other options to sell your practice to. So if you're looking and have a 2, 3, 4, 5 year time frame, perhaps that's the way to go. If you're a larger group, but maybe you aren't optimally run, perhaps they can bring in some management expertise to help. But as far as de novo growth, as far as adding value, I think the value comes from the physicians and they possibly can help optimize. But what you really need to grow and to do well is to have a good, strong group of collegial physicians, well-trained, doctors that understand the practice mentality, that it's not just about me, it's about we. Private practice is a lot like a marriage. You're not keeping score. You can't, each one doctor can't win on every issue because this is a zero-sum game for most things. So if one doctor is winning, then the partners are losing, and it's just hard to maintain a marriage or a relationship, professional partnership where there's inequity between the different physicians.
But what you can do that's different than a marriage, because this would not fly, are benchmarks, like keeping score in terms of, and this is something that I know that you are, that's one of the big, from what I've seen, from what you've been doing over the years in terms of providing those benchmarks for your physicians. So, hey, look, it's the data. Like, these are the best practices. Let's look at the data and let's see why or where this particular location, maybe not even, it's not clinical based, but this particular location could improve based on what these other benchmarks are that you're tracking.
Yep.
And
I think the benchmark works amazingly well with our model. As we've grown, we use what's called a divisional or a care center or a pod-based model. So we're all one group. We have one tax ID number. We have centralized administration, EMR, benefits, etc. But what our pod model allows is our doctors in the different pods to practice more autonomously than maybe physicians think is possible in a large group.
Okay.
So offices, if they want to hire more staff, great. But each pod or care center has a separate profit and loss statement. So some doctors make decisions. Maybe they want 2 or 3 medical assistants and a scribe per physician.
Right.
Others may say, look, that's too staff heavy.
Yeah.
We'd like to run with 1 MA and we don't need a scribe. We'll do it ourselves.
Right.
So what happens in groups, I believe groups break up for a couple reasons. They don't like each other or they're fighting over money.
Yep.
And usually they don't like each other because they are fighting over money.
Right.
Same with marriage.
Same with marriage. So can you imagine having a business where you have one partner 10-hour drive away from another? It's really hard to get economic and financial collaboration
Right.
when doctors may not even know each other in a group.
Right.
So for us, we have decentralized the operations to the extent possible. Being in a group still requires giving up some control, some autonomy for the greater good. We can't all be running in different directions. We have to have some organizational structure to what we do. But with that being said, if a doctor wants to see 20 patients a day and work 1 day a week, that's okay.
Right.
They have financial responsibility for the operations of their pod. A pod could be 1 doctor, a pod with 1 office, a pod could be 10 doctors with 5 offices, it could be 30 doctors with 8 offices. But each economic unit is allowed to flourish and grow, meeting the needs of the physicians in that pod. We've realized there isn't one structure that's going to work for all physicians.
One thing that we've noticed is, you mentioned staff. Are you seeing issues with balancing that, and where maybe someone they want to overstaff themselves, but you're pulling from the same pool of people? Like, look, I need 2 people. You don't need 7. Like, do you see that as an issue?
Yes and no. We have offices that are looking for staff. We have offices that do have a lot of staff. but when the staff interview, they're deciding where they want to work.
Oh.
If we have 4 openings and the medical assistant candidate says, what locations do you have? This is what we have.
Okay.
And if there's a good fit in an office, wonderful. But directing staff to go to certain offices, that it may not
May not work.
it might not work if
Got it.
if they don't gel or mesh with the physician, if the drive is too far from home,
Right.
they have to like their coworkers. So it's not really optimizing or hiring success, putting staff in places they don't want to be. It's already hard enough keeping staff,
Yeah.
but having them not come in with optimal expectations on the front end isn't a great plan for
Recipe
long-term
for
success.
failure.
But I
Right.
think that's a really great point. Is that in this is a candidate market, so
Correct.
you are making it be candidate
Friendly.
Yeah, I think that's a very, very important shift, and I think a lot of
Correct.
people like, I'm hiring you. It's a job. You go where No,
We don't want people
yeah.
for a job. We want
Yeah.
people who want to join a family and have a
Okay.
career.
Okay.
Can you give a couple pointers? You've been doing this since '99. Can you give a couple pointers for maybe not a practice your size, but a smaller practice, and what you think the top 1, 2, 3 things for them to thrive is?
You're talking for new staff, or you're
I'm talking
talking
in general,
practices
just
in
the
general?
practice as a whole.
I think now it's really tough to run a private practice ENT group and be solo in a small group. When you're really small, you don't have the access to intellectual capital, you don't have the access for funding, you're not negotiating best prices with partners and vendors. It's really tough. I think that's one of the reasons why our group has done so well, because we offer the protection and financial success of a large group, but with the operational platform of a small entity.
Right. An autonomy.
So, correct. I think physicians, they've trained, they're very smart, they do a great job. I think they're looking for autonomy. But
Yeah.
forcing round pegs and square holes, I don't think is the optimal way to go. I think mergers have been happening as the economic viability of medical practice has become more and more challenged. It's really hard, with compliance and the federal rules and all the regulations and HIPAA and OSHA and all this stuff. It's really hard. I mean, just look back during COVID times, that the know-how that was required to apply for funding and receive
yes,
the funding
yes.
and account for the funding.
Yes.
It's not easy.
Yes.
I'm blessed where we're big enough for having an amazing team. I have a COO under me, a director of operations,
Right,
operations
right,
staff.
right.
So we're big enough to hire subject matter experts in the different areas. If I had to run even a 2 or 3 doctor practice alone without a team of experts, it's really challenging.
Right. Accreditation, which we're going to be talking about in the podcast later on.
Accreditation. We have one of my
You have a
operations
specialist.
team.
Yep.
We have a specialist
Yep.
that handles accreditation for the practice.
She's great.
It's not easy.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
I just think it's really difficult to be on your own. Can you imagine trying to negotiate managed care contracts? The reps I speak to, we don't deal with staff reps at the payers. We deal with directors,
Right.
we deal with VPs,
Yeah.
and they're very honest with their communication with us. When we contract, we understand we're not going to win everything we want. We don't want to lose either. But we really look at our relationships with the managed care companies as a relationship. And, I see some practices treat the payers really poorly. I mean, obviously, we've got to stand up for what contractually they're bound to. We're not
Right.
going to accept underpayments, and we're going to fight. But we hear from these reps that their markets are consolidating. Now there's one rep for half a state, and they come into work every day with gazillions of emails and voicemails. So they call the people they have relationships with back first, and it's just tough to develop
Right.
a relationship
Right.
when you're a one
Right.
ENT
Yeah.
or 2 ENT practice.
Yeah.
It
Or you don't
just-
have time too. You don't have that structure in place.
Doing
to
everything
manage
else.
that. Yeah.
Correct. And
Yeah.
you just don't have the time or to invest in running your practice. Maybe it's a physician and they're seeing a full load of patients and just I understand physicians are leery at times joining another group, giving up control, giving up autonomy. But my belief in life is I would much rather have 50% of something huge than 100% of a practice that's just spinning wheels trying to stay afloat.
Right. Right.
It's a good thought process.
Thanks, Rami.
Speaking of which, things of kind of how you structure, how you run, how has Zoran been able to help in your practice? I know that as you continue to expand, it's something that we continue to look at and partner on as well. How have we, as well as other ancillaries as well, kind of helped your practice?
So let's talk about Zoran first. Zoran is not a vendor to me. They're family, they're friends.
Thank you.
We've been together a long
Long time.
time.
Long time.
And I think it's real important, first of all, that Zoran does an amazing job with the support of the American Academy of Otolaryngology, with ASCENT, which is formerly known as AAO, the Association of Otolaryngology Administrators. They're a strong supporter of our Florida state meeting, and they're great supporters of our practice. They do an amazing job. What I like working about with Zoran is the same people. You're not dealing with constant turnover. Know Laura a long, long time. We first met at an AOA meeting.
Yep, long time ago.
04?
Something like that.
A long time
Yes,
ago.
a long time ago.
And Rami.
Those are different times at
07.
AOA
Yeah,
in the day.
07
Out there,
for
some
me. 07?
stories.
Yeah.
Not safe for work.
So, they're great. I don't know how they're able to service units all over the country. First time ever, we had a unit go down. I have, how many units do I have now? 8, 9, 10?
No, more. You're closer to 15, I believe.
15
now.
units. So they're amazing. So we actually had one unit go down the first time, as far as I know, and they actually had a quicker response time from a technician coming in from out of state than I get from my local copy company. Their office is 10 minutes from me. So they do a great job with support. They support us professionally through educational development, and they're even better. They're great people.
Thank you.
Thank you. We pride ourselves on that because we know that once you're implementing CT, you want it there working at your fingertips as a clinician, right?
Yeah.
You have your patient say, oh, well, the scanner's, not working or we can't do it. No, that's the whole model of let's just bring you back. Let's see what's going on with your sinuses, and that patient compliance for those procedures can really increase. And I know those are benchmarks that you're also monitoring as well.
We also want to fully integrate into the ENT community. That's something that we have been very proud of overall after all these years, is that we continue to be a part of the culture and part of the community, and that's kind of how we structure our business as a whole. So as you guys update and need changes and things adapt, we want to be able to do the same thing, and that's important to us.
But it's interesting how the role of our Zoran scanners have changed over the years. When we bought our first unit, the price was what it was back in the day, and it was a simple calculation. I think my break-even might have been, 15, 16, 17 scans to put a unit in. Now, you fast forward with the proliferation of sinus procedures and rhinology procedures, balloons, etc.
Right.
I have doctors, single office, single physician pods putting in scanners in their locations. And as much as they said to me, hey, look, this could be a loss leader to support the use of a balloon, one of the great things is insurance companies now require CT scan to justify a balloon, which is great. We provide, the scanner allows us to provide better quality care to our patient. Of course, there's some economic benefit there, but we would not put an ancillary service in to make money if it's not enhancing the health of our patient or providing us a diagnostic tool to our physicians. So Zoran does both.
Yes.
But, I have physicians that will say, look, I don't think I have enough scans, and I just want to get a scanner. I don't care if I cover the monthly cost or not, but as it turns out, the break-even point for a scanner might be 20 scans. And I think most ENTs, without overutilizing, one of the things that's real important was before we put a scanner in, we benchmarked how many scans a physician was ordering. Now, not in our own practice, but how many they were ordering outside.
And
one of the things is we wanted to be very careful that we weren't overutilizing because we have an amazing new diagnostic tool in our office, and our physicians have done a great job. We were ordering X number of scans per patient seen before we had Zorans, and it's roughly the same now.
That's great.
But same day access, reduced radiation, what is it, 10% of a normal, 8% of a normal?
Up to.
So,
and then there's also that sense of okay, so you know the number that you're ordering, but how many, when you send out, do the patients actually go ahead and do?
We had trouble quantifying it.
Right.
Pre-EMR days, we had
exactly.
paper logs and easy to slip through the cracks.
Or the staff is calling, spending all that time doing that when they could be doing something else. So, and then you also have that peace of mind that when you have that CT, you have that justification that is justified for the insurance, for the procedure, that is clinically there. The doctors know what they're looking at and they're trained on CT, but this way you have that peace of mind that the reimbursement is going to be
Correct. But also it's better for the patient. We have our teachers, our professionals are coming in one time and leaving with the same day diagnosis. Alternatively, back pre-Zoran, the patient would come in, we maybe give him antibiotics, and then send for a scan. Another day, part of the day missed from work.
Yeah.
maybe
Child
another
care.
copay,
Yes.
child care,
Yep.
and it just increased the complexity of a patient receiving care.
Yep.
So with Zoran, lower dose radiation, instant imaging, instant diagnosis, and our physicians are thrilled.
Yeah. I go and I ask every doctor, like, can I do the CT scan right here today?
Yeah.
Just for fun.
Yep.
Just for fun.
I love it.
So Todd, do you have anything else to share with us? We've been going for some time now. Anything else to share with us here today? I know you've got probably 1,000 other people to meet with and what have you. Thank you, Todd, so much for your time today. We really appreciate you stopping by, and we look forward to having you again on a future podcast. This is Rami and Todd Blum. Laura here. We'll see you on the other side.
Everyone have a great day.
Thank
you.
you.
Go Zoran.
Bye.